Welcome back to the iFilmmaker podcast. My name's Ariel Martinez. Today we have Mr. Mike Hernandez.
That's right, the great Mike Hernandez.
The great Mike Hernandez on the show.
Very original name. Like
Very
there's no
original.
one out there with Mike Hernandez.
So I said today we have Mike Hernandez, but we're going to be having Mike Hernandez moving forward.
Oof, I'm here. I'm happy to be here.
We've been working a lot together lately.
A lot.
On sets, on jobs, and I thought it made a lot of sense to have you on the show to just talk about our experiences. A lot of people know that I don't like doing solo episodes. I do it out of necessity, not because I want to.
Yeah.
To try to keep the show going. But it takes much more prep time that I don't have. I'd rather have a conversation with somebody to get a nice back and forth. Because sometimes we might not even agree on a couple things, or just have different experiences on the same topic, and it's good to have different perspectives. So I'm glad you're on.
And we're relational, so it's just good because we're all about relationships. So
let's
do this.
So this is awesome. Super excited to have you on the show.
Which, by the way, you said you've been hiring me a lot. I haven't gotten one paycheck. This is net 45, net 100, net 200. What's going on here?
I do net 1 year.
I like that. Yeah.
Net
I'm
1
doing the same
year.
thing with my guys. Yeah, except it just can't apply to me though, please. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. He pays way early, which is amazing.
So let's get a quick background. This is your first time on the show.
That's right.
Let's let people know how you got started. First and foremost, you're a man of faith. I love that. I think that that's one of the things that connects us on a great level. Let's get a quick background. How you got started with video. Yeah. What did you do before?
So I was born at a very young age, first off. And
born at a young age.
You should see my first baby pictures, like a little tiny thing with a tail. And no, man, I got speaking of faith, I was 15 years old, homeschooled, so that's going to say a lot about this podcast. Wow. And my church ended up hiring me as like kind of gopher, person, go get this, go get that, and started washing cars there and doing a lot of things in between schoolwork. And one day, the video, now this is a pretty big church, but they had one guy doing all of video, which is kind of common. And this guy just, whatever the situation was, disappeared. And they were left with, what do we do? And I happened to just be at the right place at the right time, which is kind of a trend in my life right now. And I believe that sometimes it's divine, sometimes it's just being in the right place. And they threw me on a computer. It was PC, and it was on this software called Pinnacle. Some people might relate to that. Oh, Pinnacle. It's great with all those awesome transitions that they do, all the warping and everything.
I've never heard of that program.
Great. And that's how old I am. And so I got on there, and they had some Christmas play or something that needed to be edited and cut. And I didn't know a thing. I jumped on there, literally worked through the entire night until the next morning without realizing what time it was. And I think that's the moment you catch what is possibly your passion, your desire to do something that it's not about the paycheck, it's about something you really love to do. And so I discovered that for the first time. Never in school, because I wasn't homeschooled always.
15 years old.
15 years old.
Wow.
Never in school was I introduced to it. And so I wanted to just blow my mind into understanding what this is all about. And so that started me on the path. And eventually I left that church and got actually approached by a different church in Miami. And that's where I really learned. So there's something special about being mentored by someone who is way better than you, especially if you don't go the route of college degrees and whatnot. And so I'm self-taught, and it was great to be able to ask someone practical questions, not theories. How do I get this done? How do I get this done? How do I be creative with this? And so we went that route, and I was there for many years, expanded on that. And from there on out, I left that to start my own business, which now I've been doing since 2011 as full-time. And, it's been ups and downs. It's been great experiences, great people. One thing I was just telling some of my friends, and actually my dad yesterday, is, he's a cubicle guy. And one of the cool things about what I do is I get to experience so many different things. So sure, what we do is generally the same thing, but it's constantly changing. The parameters are just so different, and there's travel involved, and there's different people. We're all like-minded. We all have one good goal to achieve. Yeah. And so many different avenues and ways to get there. But it's just so cool to have a different day every single morning. Yeah. And so I got into my own business and got hired a lot in larger productions. And what I mean by that is like corporate commercials,
good.
or just the corporate world, also commercial world. That was pretty much like 90% of what we did. And there are a lot of, big name companies that you would know their names for, do a lot of ads for them and commercials. And then as the industry became more social, it kind of went from TV and commercial to internet. Everything was internet based. But the quality only just got better, actually, which is ironic.
Wow.
Bigger resolutions for tiny little screens. Yeah.
So when did you start, when you did those commercial jobs, was it like, what was your role on those jobs? Was it to do the whole video, or was it to be an first AC, DP, PA?
So sure. So I actually learned a lot about filming. So I transitioned from full-time video editor at that church. Then I moved into the world of just kind of being an independent filmmaker. And I got hired at the studio, which I give them so much credit for pretty much teaching me all that I know today, in that area where I started from the very bottom as a PA.
Got it.
I think that's one of the cool things about when you've almost touched every position. You not only understand the person you have on set in that position, but you kind of know what they should and shouldn't be doing. And you can kind of like, prep them and recognize when something's out of line, which may be something you want to get into.
That's good.
But yeah, so I started as a PA, worked my way up, basically got into, my primary thing was first AC.
Okay.
Then shooting and DPing as well. But I guess the majority of my time, because once I hit the higher levels, I was out. Wanted to go and do my own thing.
Of course.
But
You've already learned everything.
Yeah, so it was a great experience, man. It was amazing from beginning to end.
So you learned all the jobs basically on set. Because I remember when I started working with you, you already knew that stuff. You knew how to first AC. You knew how to DP. You knew the basics more than I did on handling a C-stand, handling like stuff like that. I didn't get that kind of I guess training or education. Like specifically, I started as a PA for a jib op, and while I was on set, when I had a little bit of downtime, I would just roam around and start like looking around, start talking with the audio guy and start talking with the DP and whoever is available to talk to. I would just start kind of searching my own answers there,
That's a really good point, because one thing one of my biggest things in life in general, it's not just this industry, is ask questions.
Oh man.
And there's always that risk. There is a risk of looking like you don't know what you're talking about and losing credibility. But if you put some of that aside, and there's ways of doing that where you don't lose credibility. But man, I used to go up to the grips and be like, what's the right way to coil up a stinger? There's audio cables, over and under, there's stingers and all these different things. And like the basic questions and some of the things that we deal with, I would always be asking questions. And that really helped me, even if it's departments that I was involved in.
Right.
Just want to know, just want to get to know.
That's good. No, I agree. Ask questions. Sometimes it hurts you when you don't. And I've experienced that, not from not asking, but from not being asked. And I've paid the price.
Ooh.
I had to pay the price because it was my set. So, so yeah, that's awesome how you kind of got started and kind of gotten to know your responsibilities on set and kind of how to maneuver and manage through this whole industry. Now, what I wanted to talk about today was regarding knowing your roles on set, right? So this didn't happen recently. It happened on a job where it's super memorable, though. This was my last job, my last full-time job before I went full-time freelance. And mind you, you know how you were mentioning earlier that, it's always exciting, something different in this field. I had never had a job more than a year before I went full-time freelance. It's just that the monotony of just routine, that was just like so boring to me, and I think that even doing video work, it got old for me because I kept coming into a job where it's not, I don't have the creative freedom, at least not to, I kind of do, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
That was a deal, So
but what did you really do?
Huh?
Let's tell the truth. What did you really do to get kicked out?
No, I left.
You got kicked out, don't lie. That's cool.
No, and
so you wanted to be creative. You wanted to own that idea.
Yeah, but it's scary. It's scary leaving. I had a salary and whatnot, and
That's one of the hardest things is to leave the security.
And really, yeah, and really one of the things was that I was hired to do video work. I was hired to be the video guy. Whenever we have a shoot, I'm the video guy, and when I have to edit it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, one of the things that they made very clear is that I can still pursue my own work. Obviously not going out getting their clients, but I can still pursue I could continue to build my business. And that's what I did. I still have, you know, the film school Instagram account, which I'm very active on social media. I did my own blogs. I was very active on my own personal social media, actively promoting myself out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was persistent about my business. And then they started to see that it was getting a lot of traction. The film school account had 16,000 followers.
Okay.
Within 6, 7, 8 months, it was already over 100,000.
Did you say, show me the money to keep me here?
So what happened was that they started asking me to do that stuff for their business.
Yeah.
And then I was, my sort of disposition was, that's not what you hired me to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I was very hesitant about stepping into that territory, because now you're giving me, you've seen what I'm doing for my business, you want me to do it for yours, but you're not paying me to do that, right?
Yeah, no.
Things got a little uncomfortable for several months after that. And then that's when I started seeing like the possibility that I might not be here too much longer. I'm getting hired left and right, but they're still my priority, obviously. And I had to make that choice. Like it was just a point where I had to, I felt I was capped. They allowed me to use their equipment to do my shoots. So I understand.
Whoa, okay.
I understand. Yeah, they were very generous. They never mentioned anything about, you know, giving them a cut. They never said that. But ethically, I should, right? Because it's their gear. So I did.
Okay.
But then later on is when they mentioned 50%.
Whoa.
They want 50% of all my work for using their equipment. They never mentioned that at first. Any kind of percentage. So that's where it started getting very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
At that job, because, dude, like I'm working hard as heck. I'm doing your job, what you're paying me to do, but you know, it started becoming uncomfortable there, and I had to make that choice. I could see that I was capped. I wasn't going to be able to make any more money being there 8 hours a day, you know, so I needed to free myself up. Thankfully at the time I was still living with my parents. So I didn't have too much to worry about there.
But it's great that you had a side hustle that you built up,
right?
That you were able to fall back on when the time to make a decision.
So going through that experience, having that amount of like, I guess for me it was drive, right? And one thing that a lot of people don't know about me, because they see me posting the FX9 a lot, they see the Sackler, they see all this expensive equipment.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I made a post and a lot of people said, well, money is not the problem.
I saw that.
Somebody I guess it was a joke, right? Because they laughed at it and said, when money is not a problem. And I said, money has never been the problem. It's been the excuse. Because I never said those things when I was taking the public transportation bus with all my equipment to go to a client's office, right? Wow. I had a $30 slider that I had in my hand. I had a $20 tripod. I had a backpack full of equipment, taking the bus, going to a client's office, stopping a block before so that they wouldn't see me coming off the bus.
Smart. And
then walking to their office saying, I'm here to do the shoot, you know?
Yeah.
I was doing that for months.
Wow.
And I had to do what I had to do. My car had broken down, but I had to do what I had to do to get it done. So
like a pursuit of happiness kind of thing. Yeah.
Dude. And so it's, that's where I come from, you know? And people only see the office. They see all the equipment that I'm posting. But all that, of course, it's all glory to God. Like it's something that you have to, when I don't see that in people, you know, I keep it to myself, but I can clearly see somebody and see how they've been maneuvering. And I can tell you, this guy's not going to make it.
Yeah. Lack of ambition.
Like you have to want it, you know? So it's just one of those things where it's your drive. It's how much you push. It's really how much you push. We've gone way off topic.
I mean, I like it because it's just a lot of people think they look at your success or anyone else that they're looking at and they're like, I just want that. I want that tomorrow.
Yeah,
But it's like
not
a
gonna happen,
30-year overnight success story. It's not literally overnight. We've gone through the trenches. And like hearing that story right there, people may not think that that was even part of your story. They may think, oh, he just must have been there from the very beginning. But we all got to grow into whether God has put us in ministry or whether we're in fulfilling our purpose here in this industry. There's steps to everything. You can't just run the race and expect to just start at the finish line. There's processes, and in that there's things you learn on set and etiquettes and certain things, different things that it helps when you've gone through it, because when now you're hiring a ton of people, which I've seen some of your really big jobs where it's a lot of people under you. When you have people that don't understand their position, sure, it's non-union, but
sure,
there's still some etiquettes that need to occur, or everyone's going to overstep each other, including the boss man, and it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So, which brings me to a story that I had. I was hired to DP a shoot for BJ's, the wholesale warehouse, and we're on there. It's a crew of about, I would say 7-8 people. We had a crane out there. We had gaffers. We had everything we needed. We were shooting on the Red. That's back when I was shooting on the Red Dragon a lot. Back then, the Red Dragon 6K was like the camera. So I'm setting up the shot and framing it up. I hired a PA to PA, but it was off of a referral. I've never worked with this person before.
It's risky.
He comes in on set talking about what he used to do in Cuba and how he's a DP and like cubanazo, like straight up.
What I said it.
And whatever, he talked a big game. A lot of people do, but it's fine. Whatever, do what you do. I hired him as a PA. I guess he needed work, so I hired him. And the guy would constantly start, as I'm trying to work, he's giving me his opinion, continues to talk in my ear, nah, that shot's not framed up that well, man. If you want to get this and and then the guy at one point, the funniest part was he pulls out a light meter and goes in front of the camera to start measuring the lights.
Stuff gets in my blood.
And in my head, I'm like, what is this guy doing? He could be whatever. He could he could have done that stuff in the past, but that's not what I hired you to do. And so I think it's very important, because do you think I hired that guy again? I'm not going to use him again.
And that's what people don't see. They don't think past this job. You always have to think about that next job, and it's just, you only get hired according to how you perform in the last. For example, if you kept hiring me and in the last 2-3 jobs just completely failed and bombed, you're gonna rethink hiring me again. You're only as good as your last job, and if you're gonna come in and take over a shoot when that's not your position, oh my goodness, don't get me started.
Yeah, and I don't get me wrong, I have always liked it when there has been times I was a PA for Extreme Jibs. I was working as a whatever. We're talking music videos. He's big time. We're talking music videos for Pitbull, Enrique Iglesias, Shakira, Elvis Crespo, what's this guy, Lenny Kravitz. We're talking big time music videos. There's a couple of times, and it made me proud. There's a couple of times the director turns to me, and I was just standing there.
That's awesome.
And just asked me, one of them was like, does that light look slanted to you? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, maybe a little bit. And I got to give my input. But I would have never dared, with this whole crew, me being so green, and that's just not my role. I see 50 people on set, and I'm just a PA for the jib operator, not for the entire production.
Wow.
So it's you have to, I guess, know your place. Know your place on the set. You shouldn't be giving your input unless asked, right? You should not be overstepping on other people's responsibilities.
Yeah, it kind of goes with the saying, stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
And I'll never forget, it's also relationship. And when you work with people long enough, you kind of figure out what the other person, some of the skill sets are. Yeah. And I'll never forget working with this one guy. We were shooting for Walmart, and this is DP, and at this point, I was just a PA right at the brink of AC, and he looks at me. He knows me. He's seen what I've been able to do without any overstepping, and he goes, Mike, I'm stuck, man. And like no one was around. So it was just us two. He's like, I am stuck, man. This is just not working. What do you think I should do? And I had one of those moments like, oh, like he's asking me. Then I quickly, peed in my pants a little bit. And then right there, I was like, yeah, well, if you, I try to come at it as humble as possible. If, since you're asking me, I would think that this because the light angle is here, blah, blah, popped out my, sun app and all these, whatever. And he was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And then everyone came over. Did I get any of the credit for it? Absolutely not. But it was so cool to be able to see that mutual respect there.
That's good.
From working with each other over time. And that was one of the things that eventually propelled me to higher positions there.
Got it.
I was on a set once where they brought in this BTS guy, behind the scenes guy.
I know where this is going.
And we're on a large shoot. I mean, it's a big commercial. And, they got an established DP and whatnot. And I was first ACing. And we all know our roles. It's non-union, but everyone knows their roles, and this BTS guy comes and he's got a whole Steadicam. This is back when Steadicams were, things for smaller frame cameras. It was like
a glide cam.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yes. And this guy comes in and he's got the whole vest and everything. It's cool. I love all that stuff. I'm for it. But then as he's holding it, he gets one of his behind the scenes shots and he's like, "That light shouldn't be there." And we all of us went like this.
The BTS guy.
What? Like, first off, did you just speak? Like, who gave you the right to do that? And then
you just speak. Get back in your lane.
Listen, let me say something, okay? Production etiquette, especially in like a studio atmosphere, and large, I consider large format as like any crew over like 50. That's to me, it's a good sized crew.
That's huge.
And so, you have art department, you have so many departments involved. And when you have this no-name person, and what I mean by no-name is they're just not a regular, start to give directions and overshadow the producers on set, the ADs, and the DOP. And it was like one thing, and I know this sounds really harsh, in a set like that, shut up. Really, truly, everyone just be quiet. And it's not a disrespectful thing. It's there's a lot at play here. There's a lot of pre-production that comes into this. There's weeks and weeks and sometimes months of pre-production. When the day is here, everyone should know their role, okay? And if you start to speak up about every little thing, you're going to get chewed out and eventually not be asked to. And I've seen that where they're just released. And this is a 5-day shoot for just speaking out too often.
Right.
Now, I actually have a personal story of myself where I crossed the line. Would you like to hear that?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Cool. I'm all about self-reflection here, but
right.
Hopefully I don't say so many of mine that everyone's like, oh, this guy sucks. But yeah. So one day I was on a production and the director was like, listen, we're gonna have you edit it. I'm like, okay, cool. I've got a ton of experience editing, and he already knew that. And so I came into the shoot and I was second camera op, right? So there was the main camera op, he was the director, and I was second. And so we're on the shoot, and I am thinking as the editor, thinking post. You ever shoot like that where it's like you want to think of...
But you should.
You should, right?
Right.
But it's not my shoot.
Okay.
So here's where I fell into a little bit of a little situation here. So not once, not twice, but about 3 times, I told the director, hey, why don't we leave some room for titles? So for this angle, let's leave some room for titles. Was I wrong about my idea? No, absolutely not. We needed some room for titles because it's have that safety or whatnot. It happened a few too many times where it almost looked like I was trying to take over the concept of the shoot. And the shoot was over, and I had the first camera up. Amazing guy. Come up to me, and he was basically like my mentor in the business at that time. And he came up to me and said, listen, he was like one of those mentors, or it's like a father figure mentor.
Okay.
He goes, I need you to call the director between today and tomorrow before you start editing this thing. Call and apologize. I was like, excuse me? He's like, call and apologize. What you did was you overstepped your boundaries. Sure, your input was great. How you came about it is you blasted it off in the air, and that's not how you bring up corrections or suggestions. You can, if you want to do that next time, you go to him directly, but you find a moment, the moment too. You don't just cut, hold on guys, let me talk to the director. And he was just teaching me some of those stay in your lane moments where in the middle of a break, you'd say, listen, you know, these are some of my concerns, just some of the thoughts of post. And that would have been the right way to handle that. But I would just call it out in the air, the whole crew listening, challenging his authority in a sense. And so I was a little upset. But you know what? I grew up in church. I grew up in a great foundation in the home where I understood authority and I understood learning from your mistakes and stepping up to the plate when it comes to when you've made a mistake. And so as much as I was biting my tongue, and at first I didn't agree with it because I was learning. I was just too ambitious, just wanted to skip everything.
Trying to get over the prideful aspect of what this industry brings also.
You know what happened is that he gave me a little, not only credibility, but he gave me a little free reign to feel important. When he said, you're going to take on all the editing for this too. That was like one of my first projects I did that. And this is a big project. It's not a little thing.
You walked in on set, glasses on, shoulders shrugging.
Man, I walked in with a little pimp limp and all that good stuff. And I called him up and he immediately was like, bro, did you already screw up the edit? What's up? And I'm like, no, man, I'm just calling to apologize. And he was flabbergasted. He was like, bro, you didn't even need to. And then I got a little upset. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't need to, you know, but so he was like, no, man, I really appreciate you doing that. And yes, the thought came across my mind that I just kind of felt like you were just overstepping a little bit. So I appreciate the fact that you're willing to call me. He said that and apologize for this because you didn't need to.
Wow.
And I thank you for that. Our relationship from that day forward, leaps and bounds.
Wow.
And the trust he had in me from there on out. And I would quickly check myself when those moments would come because there's a little bit of arrogance. And I think, look, when you're a business owner, you have to have a little bit of arrogancy and in a healthy manner. You have to have some confidence about you.
Sure.
You have to, even if you don't know what to do, you're still thriving and or trying to thrive on the experiences of what you've had to merge those into this brand new experience that you don't know much about, but you're just going to confidently tackle it. And so our relationship was great after that, and he trusted me more. And then we went and we did all sorts of cool traveling gigs, and we became what we would call the A team. Like our team was the A team, and we could get anything done. And it was a small group. And with that, we actually ended up becoming that kind of Swiss Army knife of a team where we all did everything eventually because times changed and budgets got smaller. So we couldn't afford the 50, 25 crew. We had to get that thing down because times were just changing and the clients were expecting this much for this little. And that's a whole nother concept. But we're also talking about big stuff. I'm not talking about, you know, $2,000 projects. I'm still talking about 50,000 and above. But we became a crew of like about 4, maybe 5. And man, we could get anything done.
That was awesome. And you were able to see that relationship flourish from then moving forward for that simple act of humility. That's awesome.
A lot of people don't want to talk about humility in this game.
They don't.
It's a
most recently for me, actually, this happened like a couple months ago, maybe. I got hired I was called to be the second camera op on a shoot, on a big documentary. It's actually The Last Dance Part 2. Essentially, with Magic Johnson, Pat Riley, we got a bunch of big names, Larry Bird. Yeah, so I got called to be a second camera operator. They said they saw my work, they love it. We'd love to hire you for a second camera op. Budget was peanuts, small, minimal budget, but I'm like, man, I can get this on my portfolio, you know? So I'm like, all right. So I agreed to it. I get on set. They already have a DP, which is fine. I guess I anticipated it. And there's a director. And I'm there, you know, I already have the office. I have a ton of experience. I know the work. I know exactly what needs to get done. They really didn't need. I felt like a little... Not to kind of put myself on a high. I feel like I'm not being used to my abilities. I think that I'm a little too qualified for what they really needed, right? They didn't need me like to be there. Because I was essentially being the first AC. I was just helping them get the lens on to the camera and get the monitor working for the director. And I was like a little disappointed when I got on set because that was my role, right? And mind you, this is just a couple months ago. And then as the shoot go on, because they got me for 3 days, as the first day shoot, we started going. I was like, all right, whatever. We still get to shoot with Pat Riley and all these other great guys. I started realizing, I just did a little Google search, and I found out who the director was. The director was pretty big time. Like, this guy directed 3 Mandalorian episodes. And I was like, whoa, this guy's big time. And then I started looking at how the DP works and started looking at the final product. And I'm like, this stuff looks good. Like, I don't know that I could have put this together. And then little by little, I started realizing, and then I look up the DP while, you know how we do during the interview. It's a sit down interview. I don't have to be moving the camera. So I do a quick search on him. I'm like, holy cow, this guy has worked with amazing people. George Clooney, he's got all these celebrities, and the lighting looks phenomenal. I'm like, and then I started realizing, holy crap, I am the person for this job. Like, yeah. I'm like, man, I could learn from these people. So I'm like, so it was like my moment of like humility. I had to take off my veteran hat and I had to put on my rookie hat on and start learning. So my approach now is different. My approach is now, I don't need this to let me learn as much as I possibly can. So let me do whatever they tell me to do. And dude, it was amazing. Yeah. What I learned, I was observing this DP work. Nothing crazy, but just the way he analyzes his angles, the way he sort of decides how and where to put his lights.
He's methodical about it.
His approach is just something that kind of I didn't think about. It was more, like you said, it's methodical. And so I kind of adopted that now into my work. Beautiful. And I've been posting stuff that I've been very proud of lately. And I took that from his technique.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, look at that. So.
And sometimes other things you don't learn in purchasing a class out there online or maybe in certain classes, it's the real world experience.
Yeah.
Seeing someone who's a professional, what they do. There's this, and I honestly believe there's something to learn from everyone.
Oh yeah.
No matter what level or position, there's something you can pick up from everyone. So that's so cool that you got something from that.
Dude, that was amazing. I'm super happy that I was able to sort of take a step back and kind of analyze the real situation of what's happening here.
And not to stroke your ego a little bit, but it's probably nice to kind of take a step back from the usual expectation and be like, I'm in a different position here to be able to learn or to feel like almost starting over again.
Yeah, because so once I realized where I was in the position that I'm in, it was like how excited I was when I first started learning through all these YouTube. Because now I'll be honest, it's hard to find something that I haven't heard already on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's like the same videos that I've been watching since I started. Yeah. So it's really hard. It's rare for me to find something that really intrigues me and say, hey, that's great. That's awesome. And I'm going to use that technique. That was what I did a lot back when I first started. But I was like that again. I was like, wow, look at that technique. I haven't seen that one before, So let me practice that one.
Awesome. So
yeah, it's kind of that whole deal there.
Yeah, like I was on a set once and we were going to use a fish dolly. First time I used a fish dolly. And so I Googled it and YouTubed and all these stuff. But when I got on set and learned how that thing cranks together and how that thing gets put together and extensions and all these things and charge it up. Like I remember the first time I was like, charge it up. And I'm looking at it like, crap. I don't remember on the YouTube channel where to charge this thing up. And I'm looking like an idiot. And I'm like, oh, bathroom break and all that stuff. I'm like, where's the stupid thing? I'm like looking at it. There's like little things like that. But it's like, it's those experiences that really help you grow. Yeah.
How many times this happened? I think a couple times to me. How many times did they tell you something to do on set, but they say it in such a manner like you should know what that is, and you're like, "Yeah, I got you on that one."
Yeah,
and then you turn around and like, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah, all the time. I went through that so many times.
Oh man!
And you play, sometimes you want to play like,
and then you turn around and it's like, so I had a client from England, right? From London. So I had a client.
Where's that again?
So I had a client from London, right? They hired me a lot. And I remember when I first started with them, they started they have different filming terms, right? But in their email, And no, in our conversation on the phone. By the way, everybody from over there from London is so nice.
Yeah,
They're
so
super nice people. They said, "Oh yeah, just grab a bunch of After the interview, we just want to do a lot of actuality and." And I'm like,
they use that term on me too, and I was like, "What does that mean?"
I'm like, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, absolutely, no problem. What the heck is actuality? Like, it's like
Totally. I was saying about
it's B-roll, isn't it?
yes,
B-roll.
yes.
So it's actuality is B-roll, and so actually actuality is B-roll with audio. So like if they're talking, so basically they're laved up, moving around. If we're interviewing somebody with a store or whatever, we want to capture a lot of actuality. Just get them moving around.
In a sense, it's like just raw. Just keep it like as
exactly.
Just roll.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. I've never heard that term before. And then there was a PUI or something that basically meant pop-up interviews.
Oh wow.
What was the term? I forgot the term that they used, but the same thing. They brought it up. They brought it up in a way like if I was supposed to already have known what that was.
Yeah, yeah.
And it makes me feel like, gee, should I ask them? Ultimately, I ended up asking them. I'm like, what is actuality?
Yeah.
I didn't want to sound stupid. These people are hiring me. I'm supposed to know this stuff. Because that's kind of our approach. But now,
I saw it on the call sheet, and I just went to Google.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I was too embarrassed to ask, and I was like, and I found it. I was like, oh, thank God.
That's right. No, and I had to do that a couple times too. But I think that now I'm in a place where if I don't know something, it's because maybe it's something that it's unique to them. Yeah. Maybe. But also you should know how to approach it too. Like, all right, I've never seen this term before. Yeah. What is that? Like, now I'm a little more confident in my work to say, okay, I've never heard that before. Mm-hmm. Maybe because it's not used very often, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're starting off, you still don't know. You know.
Have you ever used sign language on set? Like, there's production sign languages.
No.
No, they're so like on bigger sets of like commercial work or at least in studio. The main one we always used was basically I'm gonna go to the bathroom, cover me. You know, I'm gonna hit the head.
What the heck is this?
Yeah, so here's the concept behind that is you don't want to scream out to where your client, the client hear you say, I'm going on a bathroom break, you know, and my position could possibly just be like, hey, who's gonna cover me? You know, so it's a way of replacing yourself without anybody on set knowing. And especially if the director's really in tune with what he's doing, the last thing you want to yell out is, hey, I'm going on a bathroom break. First off, you shouldn't be going to the bathroom that often anyway. So you kind of want a discreet manner. So you go like this and then you look at someone and they agree or they don't, meaning I'll cover you or I can't. So then you go to someone else and then you get that coverage. Yeah.
What I want to know is how this became the sign language for bathroom. Man, is that actual
you're gonna have to Google
language?
It because I kind
of
it's never it's not actual. It's like production. American. It's production sign language.
Yeah. I don't want to Google this because I don't want to find out why that's.
It's probably something you don't want to know. Yeah, probably.
I don't want to know what that is.
And then this might, I've always been confused if this is hit the head or cover me, So it's probably hit the head, but yeah, that's always been the sign language, and I'm not a master at all the signs. And there's a bunch of other ones, but those are the main one I use because I was constantly drinking water. Yeah, there's etiquettes. There's just different, like you said.
Those are the things that I've never knew that there was even sign language.
I did it to you once, and you gave me this blank look on set, and I was like, he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
You didn't even tell me afterwards.
I was like, I'll let it ride. He's gonna see me go to the bathroom. We're a small crew. Oh man,
that's so good.
The blank look was hilarious. I was like, I'm not gonna explain it right now. It's in front of the client. I'll never forget. Also, I had a DIT, the data management people, and he comes and he takes all the cards after the shoot is over, and the client is like 3 clients, and these are I won't say the names, but big time clients. They're right there. And very proper. I mean, suits, one of them was super creative, and they got like 2 suits and I'm standing right in front of them. I'm disconnecting the monitor, the client monitor and all these things. It's the end of the shoot and the DIT leaves. And the director asked me, hey, where is this person? And I said, he's dumping. Right in front. Oh man, what I meant was he's dumping the footage or he's offloading the footage. There's many ways to have come about that differently. And I looked at the client and they looked at me like with this like their spines went up, you know, and I was like, I'm sorry, he's offloading the cards.
Oh my gosh.
Got to be careful sometimes.
What's the sign language for dumping?
Yeah, well, it looks like that. I'm in the position right now for that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what it is. It's go to the bathroom as a general rule.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like this and it just like that. That's yeah, don't film school people are gonna like freak out. No, that's not true. I'm just making that up. Yeah, gotta have some fun. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I think this was a phenomenal episode.
It's been fun.
The first of many.
We could go on forever.
I know
this topic because I got like 20 other stories, but it's all good, man.
I know we can, because it's still your first episode here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and let's give a link. Where can people find your stuff?
And so you can catch me on Instagram on TN Studios Inc. and also my website. My webpage is tnstudiosinc.com.
Perfect. We're going to be putting all that information on the show notes for this episode. Should be on screen as well. But you could also follow the iFilmmaker podcast on Instagram. That's where we're probably most active. And we're also going to be on Facebook again. It's at iFilmmaker Podcast. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.